Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and I'm the musician for Music Dreams and also for Ian J. Green, two different artist profiles you can find wherever you stream your music. And today we're going to be looking at an interesting topic that is found in the Intermediate Elementary Music Theory course written by Mark Sarnecki. These tutorials are used as a way to supplement the wonderful work that Mr. Sarnecki did. So I hope that you find this information helpful as much as I do when I'm working with my students and they want some extra help and need a way to stay organized. This set of books that Mr. Mark Sarnecki has written are wonderful, and I highly recommend them. Today we're going to be looking at Unit 4, which I have organized in a little bit of a different way. There are no units marked in the book, but I've organized these tutorials in a way to help separate the different topics into easy to manage different sections. Today we're going to be looking at something called the chromatic scale. Now, chromatic scales are basically fairly easy to find and to write, but there are still a couple of important things to discuss, so let's look at that together. Now, a chromatic scale is a little bit different than a major or a minor scale because a major or a minor scale is diatonic, which means it contains a series of whole steps and half steps and also contains a tonic note or a first note of the scale. And also, all of the other notes in the scale have a specific name and a specific function, which has been discussed in a previous tutorial in this series. Now, a chromatic scale is interesting because it does have a starting note, but also the chromatic scale is specifically made up of semitones. Every single note, starting from the starting note, is going up or down one semitone from the note previous. And if you do that, you can create a scale all the way through every single note in one octave. Now, that is the only rule that is used with a chromatic scale, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. When we write a chromatic scale without a key signature, if you start on a note such as C, and we go up every single note, you can see how, in this case, we use sharps in this example, which is on page 25 of the theory book. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C. So there's one rule where we think about writing a scale using only semitones. Now the next fairly important idea to discuss is to never use the same letter more than twice. So for example, C to C sharp, then you would go D to D sharp, E, and then you would go to F. Because if you go up like double sharps or you use double flats or something, it starts to become confusing. And so it's easiest just to think of the scale as using the same note name twice, which means you can use the natural note and either the sharp or the flat that change that note, but afterwards you want to try to go to the next note as much as possible. Now, something that's intriguing about the example of C chromatic scale going down is that we can use flats going down. C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and then C. So something that's really interesting about this particular scale is that you can use sharps going up, then we put a bar line, and then flats going down when writing a scale without a key signature. Now this same principle can be used on any note. So as long as you follow the rule of not writing the same note name 3 times, using a piano if you have one accessible, and also making sure not to change the last note of the scale chromatically. So if you start on C, you want to write all of the notes going all the way up to an octave C above, then all of the notes going down, but making sure to end on C as your last note if you were writing the chromatic scale starting on C. Now, there is no rule about writing sharps or flats interchangeably in a chromatic scale. So the chromatic scale starting on D flat is an interesting example on the bottom of page 25. D flat, D, E flat, E natural, putting the natural sign to cancel the flat. Then we can go F, and then F sharp. So it's kind of interesting how you can use those specific sharps and flats at your discretion, as long as you end on D flat at the end of this particular example. So something that's really interesting about writing a chromatic scale without a key signature is that there's some flexibility about the different types of accidentals you choose to write, but also, as long as you end on the same note at the end as you start on, then you've written the chromatic scale correctly. Now, something that's interesting is writing a chromatic scale based on a key signature. This is sometimes can be a bit of a confusing topic, so I want to spend a couple of minutes discussing this next. Now, something that you want to do when writing a chromatic scale using a key signature is to always think about what the key signature is of the scale that you're going to be writing by matching this key signature of the starting note and writing that key signature at the front of your homework example. But then, when you actually write the scale, you're not going to be writing the major scale anymore. You're going to be writing a chromatic scale based on that key signature. So then the key signature notes have to change according to what the key signature is. All of the same things that we discussed in just a couple minutes ago will still be applied, but I'd like to do one of the homework examples on the bottom of page 27 to help describe this topic a little bit more clearly. So the key signature for the key of F major is going to be a B flat. So let's draw that here. Now I'll also make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. Now what I'm going to do is draw I'm going to go F, and then F sharp, and then G, and then G sharp. Then I'm going to go to A, so that those notes all are the first part of the chromatic scale. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. But now the next note I could write could be A sharp, but because of the key signature of F major, I have to write B flat to follow that key signature just for that particular note. So I'll write a B flat just like it is. But then the next note I want to write will be a half step above that, which is B natural. So then I have to write a B natural here to cancel that out. Then I will go C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and then F. So if I were to now play what I have here, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B natural, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and F. No, so what I have essentially done is created a scale while thinking about the key signature of the starting note, which is F, putting that scale here, but then writing a chromatic scale using that key signature. What I've done then is followed the rules of using sharps or flats as necessary, except now I have to think about the key signature and how that affects the notes. So I'm not essentially writing the F major scale, I'm creating a chromatic scale using semitones or half steps, but also watching to make sure to follow the key signature accordingly. So as you saw, what I did, instead of writing A sharp when I went to this part, is I had to write B flat because of the key signature. And then from there, I was able to adjust the rest of the notes. Some of these two topics are a little bit tricky. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to create another short tutorial where I'll work on a couple more of the questions on page 28 to help accompany writing chromatic scales using a key signature to help describe this, so then a little bit more clear information. So I look forward to sharing that with you very shortly. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and take care for now.